How's it going, guys? Long time no see. I'm sorry for the absence, but I really didn't feel like posting anything unless I had something I thought was worth sharing. It took a long time, but I think I finally have something that's kind of worth sharing. So to take this way back to when this project really blossomed, I was cleaning my grandpa's old CVA buckhorn, and I was really admiring just how simple of a design that CVA was. But I got to thinking, man, this 50 cal would be a hell of a lot cooler if it was about an inch bigger in diameter. So obviously, I had to build that. Now, when I started this project, I didn't have any engineering experience or any machining experience. So I had a lot to learn. The engineering, for example, hoop stress, ultimate tensile strength, yield strength, Barlow's formula, safety factors, all of this stuff is kind of basic engineering, but when you're building a gun like this, it is very, very pertinent information, and you cannot get it wrong. So like I said, when I first started this project, I didn't have any machining experience. So initially, a lot of stuff was outsourced. The barrel, for instance, is a piece of 4130 steel tubing. And I know a lot of guys just winced when I said steel tubing, but this is not seamless, welded seamless steel tubing. This is cold drawn seamless. And what that means is the tubing is one homogeneous piece that is extruded into shape. There is no weld whatsoever. It is homogeneous. And using Barlow's formula and safety factors, I used the material's yield strength in the formula and set a safety factor of 3. So that established what my max load would be. Anything below that is completely safe. Also, we do a proof test, which we intentionally overload the gun and fire it to make sure there's no deformation of the barrel. It doesn't expand or get damaged in any way. In my case, I did that, and the barrel was fine. So this is why the math and the engineering part is so important, because if you get that wrong, you just made a pipe bomb instead of a firearm. So after I got the piece of barrel material, I had to outsource more things at this point because, like I said, I didn't have machining experience. So I reached out to Nick Hutchinson of Rapid City CNC, and they did the barrel threading for the breech itself, the recoil lug, and the secondary recoil lug. And Nick did a fantastic job. Like, it was spot on. They did it timely. Price was fair, but still, this is a lot of work. It was expensive. But unfortunately, I made some design changes. What I did is I made the recoil lug thicker. And because of that, the breech changed. The recoil lug changed, obviously. So I wasn't able to use any of that. So all I really had to show for Nick's work was the barrel and the secondary lug. And it was around this time, like, I decided that to finish this gun, I was going to have to learn how to machine myself because my pockets aren't that deep. And, you know, I just wanted the sense of accomplishment that say, hey, I built this. So after 10 years of being in my department, I was an electric motor winder for a decade. I asked my boss if I could switch to the machine shop, and they were shorthanded at the time, and he said, yeah. I kind of got thrown to the wolves, holding tolerances in the tents as a very, very green person was a struggle, but I learned a lot thanks to a very, very good mentor. And after about 8 months, I finally decided that it was time for me to start machining my own parts. So I started out by making the trigger and bolt housing, the breech, and the end cap. And I don't have any videos or pictures of that, unfortunately, with the exception of the milling. because on the lathe I was really focused on not screwing it up, even though it's me doing it. The material was still very expensive. So if you watch my grandpa's 4-bore video, there's videos and pictures of me doing those sections, and it's really the same thing, just bigger. But after I got that made, I reached out to a man named Tommy Moore to do the recoil lug. I think Nick was busy at the time, so he wasn't able to do it. But Tommy Moore owns Catawba Valley Armory, and he did an impeccable job. He machined the recoil lug out of a solid piece of 4140, sent me pictures of the process. I'll put them in the video. And he got it out so fast. I was so impressed, actually, that he was so kind, responsive, and sending me picture updates. He actually got it done ahead of schedule. But anyway, I asked him to etch his logo in the bottom of the recoil lug. So I'll put a picture of that in there as well. So after all the machining was done, I needed to tackle the stock. Now, originally I wanted to use walnut for this, but I was frankly petrified that even if I reinforced the wrist and right behind the recoil lug, that it would crack over time. So I started looking at laminated construction. I reached out to this company called Casano Wood Products, and I bought a really chunky piece of Spectra ply. This was not cheap. It was about $400 if I remember correctly. So after I got the Spectra ply, I started reaching out to a bunch of different people about possibly having a 3D printed pattern stock duplicated. The prices varied, but the average is about $500. And there was concerns from some guys about using a pattern stock that was 3D printed because either they haven't done it before or they were concerned that it would deflect and show up in the finished stock. So I decided I was going to have to do that myself too. What that meant is I was going to have to design a duplication machine completely from scratch. So that's what I did. It took me about 3 months to build the duplication machine, and the first time I tried it, I just went straight for it and completely ruined that first stock. So I went back to the drawing board, redesigned some components on the duplication machine, made it a lot more rigid, got another piece of Spectra ply, which was another $400, and the second time it worked. Now, because it was made on a duplication machine, it's not a miracle thing. I had a lot of hand finishing to do, a lot of hand inletting to do, and that took me some time as well. So after the stock was carved, I then needed to tackle the recoil pad. And since this gun is so much bigger than what's typical, there's not a factory grind to fit pad that's going to fit this. So I reached out to various pad manufacturers, attached a picture of the gun saying, hey, I'm serious, and either got no response, or one company actually did respond, but they were essentially saying that they were laughing at me. So I decided that I was going to have to make the pad myself. And this led me down a really weird material science route and a lot of patent reading to see what other manufacturers used. And what I settled on was using a 25A 2-part urethane rubber and embedding sorbothane inside of it. Now, sorbothane is a weird material. It dissipates impact and converts it to heat. I don't know exactly how it works, but it works. So I built a 3D printed mold of the pad and layered in a really thin layer of the urethane first, and then I put the sorbethane in it. And it's about 1.5 inches thick of sorbethane. And then I poured more urethane around that, leaving about 1/4 inch from the top of that pad. Then I degassed it, let it set up just to where it's starting to get like gooey. And then I poured a much higher shore rating urethane on top of that for my backing plate. And it took a few attempts, but I finally got one that worked. So after the pad was made, the only thing left to do was to paint everything and then fire it. So that's what I did. The very first test firing was off of a pull string, and it was 500 grains. I just wanted to see if the stock was going to split or do anything silly. 3, 2, 1. So after it survived that, I decided it was time for me to get behind it. And I'm pretty recoil jaded, and there's not a gun on this planet that really scares me. This was the very first time that I got behind something and was outright intimidated. I did not know what to expect. Now, I didn't shoot 500 grains. I shot 350 grains, which is under a half load. And to say that I was surprised would be an understatement. I didn't fall over, but it definitely got my attention.
3.
The next person to fire it was my little brother, and despite me showing him literally moments before the video started how to hold it, he just decided to ignore all that and stand the completely wrong way and fired it and broke the leg on my bog pot in the process. After my brother, the next person to shoot this was my boss at our company range day just a couple weeks later. And we were shooting 400 grains and 5,000 grains of double-aught buckshot. My boss has never shot anything like this before, and it took his breath away. He enjoyed it, but he said he never wants to shoot it again.
That was awesome.
Also at this range day, I shot the gun probably 4 or 5 times. And one of those times I had the pad too far over on my pec. When you get a gun like this, it is extremely important where you put that pad. And since I had it too far over on my chest, I shot it and it knocked the wind out of me for a split second. And then for about 3 weeks, one of my ribs, it just killed anytime I would move, breathe, laugh. So I'm pretty certain this gun cracked one of my top ribs. So there is that. So after the tomfoolery and the tally-hos and the general just fun of having it built, I decided to actually start doing some testing with it. And that first test was patterning, which I will show. Alright guys, we've got the Leviathan set up here at 25 yards to see what kind of pattern we can get. If it looks good, we're going to keep moving back until that pattern opens up to where it's just too extreme. I've got 400 grains of 1F GoX in it and 11.4 ounces of number 4 shot. Everything's loaded up. We got the magneto speed on it. We'll see if it survives that. And the last thing we have to do is put the primer in it and touch it off. Primer is in. Okay. Target is looking good. I'm going to aim for the middle of that. Okay, gun is hot. I'm going to lean hard into this. Aim for the middle. Whew, don't flinch. All right. Magneto speed is still there. And did we get a velocity? Not even a little bit. I'm just gonna kind of do my best here. It seems like it's... Okay, so we're looking at roughly 53 inches at 25 yards. What does that mean? I don't know. Do this all over again. Okay, I've got 2 cushion wads in there. I've got one of these 3D printed shot cups that I'm going to try out. I have never tried it before, but we're going to see how it does. If it improves the pattern, great. If not, I don't have to print them anymore. Shot is now in there. Legitimately have no idea how this is going to go. Okay, I'm not going to seat this super tight because, like I said, I don't know what this is going to do. Well, it did something. Okay, so I'd say that worked. Maximum spread, 41 inches. Overall, though, I'd say they're all mainly within 34 inches. Okay, guys, last shot of the day. We're going to do something a little bit different here. I'm going to try to get a video of the shot cups spreading open in super slow-mo. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't. But if you hear someone counting down, that's why.
3, 2, 1.
At 35 yards, we're looking at about a 68-inch spread. That was with one of the shot cups. This is all I was able to locate of that cup. Okay, so here's the results at 35 yards with no shot cup. And it pretty much completely covered this paper from left to right. So there's no point in really going any further without the shot cup. So here's the second shot at 50 yards with the shot cup. Looking pretty similar to the first time, but this time we were able to actually see that cup moving through the air in slow motion. It's not detailed enough to see where it separates exactly, at least not on my phone screen, but it is cool to be able to see it flying through the air. They're breaking apart at some point. I wish I could see exactly where that is. It'd be a lot better if it held together and just flared off as one piece, but it seems to be consistent, so that's good. Hey, lo and behold, I was able to find one of the shot cups. This was the one that we caught on video flying through the air. So, like I was saying, the petals are breaking off right as they meet the base of this where it doesn't flex as much. So what I'm going to do is redesign this to where it's more of a cone shape instead of just having a little bit of a round radius bottom right there. So hopefully that will keep it intact a little bit better than this. You can see that one there is starting to go right there at the layer lines. So I'm going to try that and probably print it a little bit hotter as well. Okay guys, so here's the results of the pattern testing. There's going to be some flyers outside of the main ring that I measured, but I just kind of went for the average to get my measurement. So at 25 yards with no shot cup, we have 50 inches. At 25 yards with the cup, we have 39 inches. 35 yards without the cup, we have 66 inches. 35 yards with the cup, we have 58 inches. And then for the last two, they're both 50 yards with the cup, and on the first shot we have 66 inches, and on the last shot we have 70 inches. The spread was just too much at 35 yards without the shot cup for me to even attempt to shoot at 50 yards without it. Okay guys, I hope you liked the video. I'm sorry it took so long, like I said, to upload something, but I plan on doing more with this gun. I need to do a destructive test, and I need to test out my patched around ball. So if you guys have some suggestions on what to shoot with this, let me know. Dang, it fucking recoils.